We're going to go ahead and get ready with get going on the program, but feel free to come and go and eat all the food you want there. That's what it's all about, sitting here and enjoying the food and talking to everybody. I'm Nen Hewlett, the mayor of Granbury, and I want to welcome everybody here tonight. We started doing these again last year, and it was well received, and we think it's important to go ahead and recognize all of our boards that do so much for us all year long. And right after the board appointees, we thought this would be a good opportunity to see all the new people on the boards and all the people who's been there for a while. And also, we've got a lot of new staff people. And as you just heard, our new city manager, Chris Kaufman, you're going to have an opportunity to hear him again, and also get around and introduce yourself to Chris. And Chris wants to introduce himself to you guys. So that's a good thing too. So we'll have an opportunity to do that. There's so many things that everybody does out there in the city and the community to make the community what it is right now, and I hear nothing but good things about what Granbury does, but a lot of that the people don't recognize what happens behind the scene, and that's what you guys do. You do a lot of things behind the scenes. You plan. You have ideas that you bring to the council, and that helps the council, and it helps the staff also make the right decisions for the community out there, because you guys are out there in the community. You know what the community wants. You know what the needs are out there. So I applaud every one of you guys for the things that you do for the community and all the work that you put into helping the community be a better place to live out here. And Granbury is, everybody that comes here, they applaud us. They think what a great community we have, but it would not be that great of a community if it wasn't for you guys out there. So thank you very much for what you do. The program is going to consist, we're going to introduce all the boards, and we're going to have the board people come up and talk a little bit about the different boards, and just to recognize the boards and say what they do, and maybe some of the achievements that they've done this year, or some of the highlights and stuff like that. So we're going to get started. I think our first person to speak is going to be Miss Sherry Husband Campbell. She's going to start it off with the TV Advisory Board. So enjoy the evening, folks.
Good evening, everybody. We appreciate your having come and joined us for this evening. As the mayor mentioned, I'd like to echo my thoughts about and my appreciation for what you do for the city. Literally, the staff and the council couldn't do what we do without you, so we appreciate your commitment to your community in this way. You're going to notice this evening, scrolling on the PowerPoint on the screens in front of you, information about each board, in some cases some pictures either of the board members or of the things that have been going on related to that board during the year, just to kind of give you a sense of what it is that they've accomplished. I am here specifically to talk about Granbury's Public Television Channel Advisory Board, which is tasked with advising the City Council and the staff regarding the operations of Granbury Television, which is Granbury's public education and government cable channel. 2 years ago, this board also assumed responsibility advisory duties related to the city's radio broadcast partnership with Tarleton State University. This year, the board and the staff have worked together to make significant improvements to both the TV and the radio broadcast with the purchase of and launching of new equipment and services. Chief among those was the recent addition of live stream technology that allows the city to broadcast meetings and events live in real time, then online, and then archive that video for those events for people to watch them at their leisure. Now, I'd be remiss, and Kevin and Jackie somewhere would throw things at me, if I didn't remind everybody that Granbury TV is channel 190 on Charter Communications and channel 99 on ATT-Uverse. We also have presence on a variety of sources online. So, and since we are filming the event this evening, thanks to Mr. David Euchre over here, please be sure to look for yourself on TV or a computer monitor very soon. The TV Advisory Board's members really do more than just meet monthly. They volunteer in various capacities to assist with the TV and radio broadcasts, doing everything from taking pictures for our social media to providing color commentary during the broadcast. And I'm very fortunate to work with such a dedicated group of community volunteers. Now I'm going to call names, and I'm going to ask you to stand at your place as I call your name, and if the audience would hold your applause till all of them have been called. But the members of the Granbury TV Advisory Board, for short, are Jackie Solomon, Chairman, Kevin Myers, Dixie Lee Hedgecock, Chris Cheney, and John Back. Thank you all for your service. And I believe next up we have Aaron McLean to come introduce the Parks Board.
Well, thank you. I'd like to introduce, I'll tell you first a little bit about the Parks Board. Our Parks Board researches and recommends policies and procedures regarding development, operations, and maintenance of our park system. You can drive around town and see all kinds of changes and development in our parks all the time. In my time here working with the Parks Board, the hike and bike trail has been an ongoing project that they've been very strongly supportive of. It was a struggle trying to find routes that would be acceptable to TxDOT for this, and they were always supportive, supported city staff, and we'd go back to the drawing board and try again. And here, 12 years later, we're finally to the point to where we're going to complete a loop for our hike and bike trail. Have a new bridge system being installed now. And they're also the eyes for city staff out there in our park system. We can't catch everything, and at meetings are always complimentary of us on areas we're doing a good job, or if they've heard some recommendations from people, they're always good to recommend, hey, have you thought about this in this area, or why do we do this instead of this? So they keep us in check, and I always appreciate that, because it's impossible for me or my staff to be through all our parks every day to do all the inspections. So I've always appreciated that. And we're currently also going to be expanding our skate park. We finally, after more years than I've been with the city, they've been pushing for a skate park, and we've completed one phase. And hopefully this summer we'll be working towards the second phase of the skate park. And they have been very supportive and persuasive of some council members really pushing that skate park, and that's very appreciated. And it's great to drive by and see the kids enjoying the park system, the kids enjoying that skate park, and it's because of the board always supporting staff and always having the ideas to keep us going. So now I'll introduce the board members, and again, if you would stand as I call your name. It's Jean Kate, the chair, Barbara Boozer, Bev Groves, Kathy Cuban, and Kay, if you're here, I'll apologize. I always butcher your name. Kay Wazalewski, James Makins, Julia Pinnell, Joe Parker, and Joan Snyder. We appreciate you. And even though my title is Parks and Rec Director, someone's got to be over the cemetery. So that's also under our department. And we have a cemetery board. You may not think there's much goings on up at the cemetery, but I beg to differ. Over the years, we've had installed all the decorative iron and rock fencing that you see around two sides of the cemetery. We have recently hired a firm to work on a future expansion master plan for our cemetery, and that was just completed. As a matter of fact, we had a board meeting today where we went over the final draft of that. So, and they've been very supportive and patient with staff. We're currently working on some road improvements at the cemetery. We're going to be doing some more fencing around the communications tower, and there's a lot of wisdom on that board. I kind of get a kick out of them getting off track a little bit during the meetings, but you can learn a lot about Granbury from those members of that board. A lot of them have been here for a long time. So here again, I'll read these board members. David Southern, chair. Bill Wiley. Sylvia Campbell. John Boozer. Lamita Kinnan. Asa Maddox, Carol Walton, and Jake Caraway. We thank y'all. We appreciate you. Next up is Tourism Advisory Board.
Thank you, Aaron. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Steve Dietrich. I'm the director of the Granbury Convention and Visitors Bureau, and it's my great pleasure to introduce you to the members of our Tourism Advisory Board. The Tourism Advisory Board serves to advise council and the director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau in matters related to the community's tourism industry. The 10-member board is made up of representatives of stakeholder groups in tourism, such as hoteliers, restaurateurs, retail merchants, the Chamber of Commerce, entertainment venues, and local special districts. Some of the important things that the board has done this year, first of all, is to reconstitute our committees. We formed four different committees, and they have provided some very good counsel and advice in each of the committees. Most notably, I would mention the marketing committee, which developed the marketing program, the marketing campaign that we're currently undertaking. And the members of that committee also provided some very valuable feedback during the development of both our marketing plan and our website, our new website. So that was greatly appreciated. And also the different various committees, one of the committees has made some headway with the establishment or development of a potential for a wine tour operation to perhaps start here in the city. And also they've kept us as a city staff very focused on the physical elements of our tourism environment, such as restrooms and the kiosk downtown, and we're now focusing on some wayfinding signage to help people navigate around town once they get here. So it's been a great pleasure. It really is an honor to serve with each and every one of you, and I thank you for your dedication and your service. And at this time, I would like to introduce the board and just have you stand up, if you would, please. Our chair is Diane Hedges, Kay Coleraine, Jim Leach, I don't believe Jim's here, Joel Back, Cindy Peters, Ona Pruitt, Sandra Walton has just rotated off the board, and Kay Wazlewski, and Dutch Wilkinson. Thank you all very much. And now I'll hand it over to Brett Mangum, who will talk to you about the Zoning Board of Adjustments.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, everybody. I'm Brett Mangum. I'm one of the planners in the Community Development Department, and one of the boards that our department deals with is the Zoning Board of Adjustment. We also call it the ZBA, and a lot of y'all might not know what the ZBA does, but they're a very important board. They're a quasi-judicial board, and their main task is to rule on variances to the city's zoning ordinance. They also hear special exceptions to that ordinance. Special exceptions are not as critical as variances, but they are a quasi-judicial board, so they actually have a little bit more room. Their decisions stand independently. Anything the zoning board hears is a final decision. And I'll go through the list. We've got 7 folks serving on our zoning board at the moment. And as I call your name, please stand up and we'll recognize you for all the work that you do. Our chair, Eileen Kate, Betty Jacobs, Ernestine Sugart, Tom Baker, Ronnie Wan, Eddie Rodriguez, and Carrie Bellamy. Thank you all. And next we've got the Planning and Zoning Board, and I'll hand it over to my colleague, Larry.
Thank you. Larry Abrig, and talk a little bit about Planning and Zoning Commission. Home rule cities that have, if you have zoning, you've got to have, by state law, Planning and Zoning Commission. And the Planning and Zoning Commission is primarily responsible for what the City Council has placed into the zoning ordinance and the subdivision ordinance. So they look at all the zoning cases, subdivision plats, and specific use permits. Basically those things. There are a few things that the P&Z does on their own, like a tree conservation plan. They can pass that. That doesn't go on. But primarily they are advisory to our City Council. And I'm going to read all 8 members that are on the list. I know they're not all here, but I wanted to at least, I know some of you will recognize their names. Lee Daniels, our chairman. If you'll stand, if you're here and you hear your name, stand. Rita Kay, Tim Hallman, Kathy Briscoe, Steve Gerhardt, Stephen Ellis, Barry Howes, and Tony Hedges. Thank you all very much.
All right, next up we've got the Historic Board. So everybody's familiar with the Historic Board, I'm sure. The Historic Preservation Commission, we also call it the HPC. They are responsible for the rules and the guidelines that are applied throughout the Historic Preservation Overlay District, and as well as the Historic Compatibility Overlay, which is the areas right around the Historic District. They are also tasked with maintaining the roster of local landmarks. At the present, we've got 27 local landmarks, and as well as 2 landmark trees. I'll go through the roster, and if, as I call your name, please stand up. First, we've got our chair, Carrie Young, Stan Wasilewski, Kay Colrain, Shirley Hooks, Bob Pinnell, Connie Jo Duncan, and Amber Ross. Thank you all. All right, Ava.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Ava Gregory. I'm the Director of Finance, and it is a great pleasure to be here. And I wanted to also thank all of you all for serving on these boards. We greatly appreciate your commitment. I would like to talk to you a little bit about the Municipal Utility Advisory Board. I had the pleasure to serve on that board for, I think, the last couple years. And the board is, the board meets quarterly, and one of the requirements is to be a utility customer. And what the board does is reviews different utility projects and topics before they come in front of the council. And these are related to major utility constructions or changing the rates table, rate schedule, issuing new revenue bonds, issuing a larger debt. They're all reviewed by the board. They make a recommendation to the council. And at this time, some of the highlights, what I can share with you all is the opportunity for the board to review the new water treatment plant funding, and also the time event and schedule for the construction of this water treatment plant. They also reviewed the rate schedule, and they constantly monitor the rate schedule as we introduce that to them at the board meetings. We also have reviewed different utility projects and topics during the year. It is my great pleasure to introduce you the board members. The chair is Ken Hackett. I don't think he's here. Gary Goldston, Steve Ellis, James Jarrett, and Greg Corrigan. Thank you. think it's your turn.
I'm not going to jump up on stage like you did there. It'd be dangerous. Jason wasn't able to be here today, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce the Building Standards, Plumbing Adjustment and Appeals Board. And that board pretty much describes itself, you know, when they go out and they want to make sure that the standards of the electrical, the plumbing, and anything else is correct to the codes. And if there's any deviation or if there are any variances, then they take that back to Jason. They review those things and they make sure that everything is proper and that it protects the person, it protects the builders, and it protects the people that might be tied into that also. So this is one board I've never sat in on, but they do a lot of, I know they do a lot of work to help Jason and his staff out there to make everything that's, that they do out there safe, basically. The board members on this is Russell Pruitt is the chair, Billy Friesen, Terry Taylor, David Zunker, Bob White, Brian Gaffin, Brian Blevins, and then Ray Wilson with the Hood County Fire Marshal. So let's give those guys a hand. You know, I want to take a little pause right here real quick to recognize, first of all, the Catering Paradise Bistro. Thank you very much for the catering out there. And if you look on the tables, the decorations that are set there, Miss Julia Pinnell come running up to the office the other day and said, hey, if you guys want some decorations for your event, I have some up in my attic. And I don't know how we got them down. Did we send somebody out there? Bob, I'm sorry. I apologize. I told him we'd send somebody up there to get them, but I knew right then she was going to volunteer you to get up in the attic and get those out. But thank you very much for the decorations, Julie. Thank you very much. I'd also like to recognize out there in the crowd the folks that do a lot of stuff too out there in the community, and that's our council members. You all work a lot with the council members. I know a lot of times you meet with them one-on-one, or you meet with them with a group of folks, and you explain to them what you'd like to do, what you want to do, things that you have had citizens come to you. So you go out there and you reach out to these council people. And you know, it's a great team of council folks. We're really diverse. We've got a lot of folks that have done different things in their careers, and so that makes it really good to work with because they understand what we're trying to do out there. So I want to introduce our council members. I think Laurel was here. I think he had to leave though. Laurel, you still out there? No, I guess not. One of our newest council members, Rose Myers. Rose, want to stand up? Gary Couch, he don't need to stand up, but Mr. Tony Allen.
Let me get up.
No. And our Mayor Pro Tem, Mickey Parsons. Let's give these guys a big hand. They do a lot of things for us. Thank you. This next board is a real important board, and we're getting a lot of, we're putting a lot of energy out there, you might say. It's the Granbury Regional Airport Board. And as you know, we've been negotiating, we've been trying to expand our airport out there, and it's going along pretty good. We're getting really, really close, and I don't know if you all know Gary Hawks. He'd have been here tonight, but he flew out to Fort Bliss, I think, on a C-130, and he's out there doing some things with some airport people. But Gary's a lot. If you ever get the opportunity, just go out there and visit the airport or go to the board out there and sit around and visit with them folks out there. There's a lot of good things going on out there at the airport. And what they're bringing also, they're sitting around as the board members, and they're talking about things that they can do out there at the airport to bring events, and one of the events was the Bloom Festival. They talked about that. They joined hands with the Hedges and people in the community, Scott Young and those folks, and they brought that event here to Granbury, and they're going to be back. I mean, it was a great event. So that board members, they're talking about what they can do right now, and they're also talking about what they can do when we expand that airport and what it's going to mean to Granbury, and there's a lot of good things that are going to happen out there. So I want to introduce those board members. Like I said, there's a few of them not here. They're out flying around, I think, but I'll go ahead and introduce the people that's here. Jackie Vaughn is the chair. Andy Rash, and oh, by the way, I think most of these board members are pilots. I didn't know that, but Rich Shappy, Terry Strange, Paul Holder, Timothy Rothenbush, Charles Rick Huber, I know he's with Gary, Mark Zimmerman, and Monty Johnson. Thank you, folks, for what you do out there. This next board is kind of a board you don't hear about a lot because they meet about every 4 years, I believe. It's the Charter Review Board. This committee is appointed to analyze the city charter. As you know, the charter, the city runs off the charter. The council tries to make policies and stuff based off the charter, and also to vote on the charter that the cities run from. So the city charter, and it recommends any changes to the charter that they believe should be put before the citizens on an election ballot. So we have went through this process. We are at the point now where we would bring it up to the council to vote on, and then there'll be a time when we will set a date to vote on the changes. I sat in on a few of these board meetings, and the good thing about it, there was a lot of things that they reviewed. I say a lot of things. There were a few things that they reviewed, and a lot of them were probably put back into place. They added a couple, I believe, and they changed a few of them. But all in all, our charter was pretty solid. But you have a group of people, and these are made up of citizens that are out there in the community once again, and they see the charter. They have an opportunity to review the charter and to look at what they think some changes should be, and they take them, and then they go to the council and they get voted on, and then those things are put into the charter. So this team, they meet about once every 4 years, so usually you see this group of folks, and the next group of folks will probably be totally different. So the group of folks we had this year that's on this committee, and I was really happy to see this group. A lot of them had some expertise in developing a charter, so that was a good thing. The board members, our chair was John Grace. And by the way, John comes all the way from Colleyville as a mayor pro tem, council person. Might have been the mayor, I don't know, out there. So he had a lot of things to bring to the table there. Tom Baker. Tom, as you know, is out in the city, out in the community all the time, and he's trying to make things better out there for us all the time. He's up to all the council meetings, so he knows what's going on. Kathy Briscoe, in the real estate business in town. Eddie Rodriguez. Rita Kay, another realtor out there, and she's been around for a long time, so she understands the charter. David Southern. No introduction needed there. David knows all about charters. He's been the mayor and council person and on a lot of boards out there, so he knows all that stuff. Maurice Walton, he's not here, but he's an attorney, as you know, and so we had a really diverse group of folks on this charter, and I was really fond of what we came up with. So thank you guys very much. I'm going to call upon one of the council persons, Rose Myers. She's going to talk a little bit about a new board that we put in place, was the DMO board.
Thank you, Mayor. You can tell I'm the newest member because I never know that I'm going to talk. No warning. I think they do that to me. Just put me on the hot seat. So first I want to thank everybody for their service on every board tonight. It takes all of your volunteer work and advice and time that you give to the city for us to do a really good job with the council and for the city to run properly. And I know that's really hard for you to take time out of your personal schedule. So really do appreciate you for your service. So what's a DMO board? And why do we need it? The Destination Marketing Organization, which is what DMO stands for, is a committee that we put together after a visit from the council to Fredericksburg, Texas last year. Several of us council persons, probably y'all read it in the paper, we went down there for a one-day vacation, and taxpayers paid for it. We ate as light as we could, and we carpooled, so we did really good. But while we were down there, what we saw was a city that years ago had come to Granbury and looked at Granbury and wanted to be like Granbury. This was a city who is now, in our opinion, when we left Fredericksburg, was looking at us through their rearview mirror. And incredible how much that city has changed. I grew up in Killeen, Texas, and we went to Fredericksburg quite a bit. And I've been coming to Granbury since the 80s, and I have seen both cities transition. Just unbelievable how these cities, both Granbury and Fredericksburg, have put themselves on the map for different reasons, and we have so many resources here that they came and saw. In fact, they're thinking of building a convention center or conference center like we have here already, and when you see how they work together, it just makes you want to be like that. It raises the bar, and it makes you think we need to be like that and as good. So what we did was we talked as a council, and we said, wow, that was a great visit down there, and it really makes a lot of sense to focus on our tourism market. We've lost some rooms here in Granbury, and our hotel tax, hasn't really increased. We've been kind of flat, and maybe we've taken the eye off the ball. Many of you know that I was kind of on the hot seat because I wanted to do something different with the conference center as far as making it affordable for people to come here and actually use the place. And since that's happened, we have done incredible with getting more and more groups down here. In fact, while we were in Fredericksburg, the guys actually met the car club that's coming here in a couple of weeks, and that brought 500 plus of their members coming here in a couple of weeks that are going to come here because we said, hey, we've got a conference center and a lot of great hotels, and have you ever been to Granbury? Now they're even talking about coming multiple years. So that's what we're trying to do. Hopefully that will help us whether we transition or not. So having said that, I want to introduce the members of our committee, and we have a phenomenal committee. What we did was we hired an expert. His name is Bill Geist. He wrote a book on destination marketing. He came and sat with the city for about 4 days. He talked to more than 15 stakeholders that had something to do with tourism, so he could get a great idea of what we had. And I'll tell you, he said from our website, he didn't think that Granbury was something that would be on the map. But when he got down here, he fell in love with our city, and he said we had 100% more resources than any city he had visited in a very long time. So with that said, our members of our committee were part of those stakeholders, and representing the HGMA and the merchants is Scott Young. Bill Geist thought it was very important for us to have someone from the committee that currently sat on the Tourism Advisory Board, and that's Diane Hedges. And then also very important for us to focus on our hoteliers and B&Bs, and that's Jim Leach with the Inn on Lake Granbury, and he's not here today. So what we did is we formed this committee. Thank you all, because we have got a great committee. I'm trying to speed this up because, as you see, when you get to ours, we've been in the paper every week, and I hate that. For the last 2 weeks, we haven't been in the paper, which has been awesome. But that being said, we met briefly monthly because we don't have a whole lot of time. The council did decide this was something that we should look into, so we formed this committee, and we met monthly for maybe 2 months. I don't even think it was that. And we're currently meeting every week. So this is a dedicated committee that is spending a lot of time, in a minimum of 2 hours every week, of trying to get a comprehensive look for the council to see at the July budget meeting. And so what we've completed is we're almost complete with a comprehensive business plan. We have almost written our bylaws and completed those. We're going to have a strategic budget and expenditures for what could potentially be an independent DMO. And then we're going to take it to budget, and we're going to let the council members decide. So that's kind of where we are at. So if any of you are interested in what we're doing, we hope to see you at the July meeting. Thank you.
It is my great pleasure again to talk to you about the Bridge Street History Museum. I would like to introduce you to this dedicated group of individuals who have been serving on the Bridge Street Museum board. They are the ones who manage the Bridge Street Museum for us. That is located, of course, on Bridge Street. These dedicated individuals meet monthly, and I wanted to read you their mission. The Bridge Street History Center mission is to collect, preserve, and understand the life stories of the people of Granbury and Hood County, and to examine how they illuminate the history of America. I've had the opportunity to go to the last board meeting, and we talked about the establishing a Friends of for the Bridge Street Center Committee, and I wanted to tell you that there are great opportunities to volunteer and help out with this board, and I'm sure you will be able to hear about that if you visit with the members. At this time, I would like to introduce you to the board members, and that is the chair, Maurice Walton, and he's not here tonight, Jake Caraway, David Cleveland, Diane Locke, Cody Martin, and of course, Teresa Sims. Thank you so much.
When Ava jumped up to get on the stage, I thought she might have thought she was playing tennis because she's an avid tennis player, and maybe she's jumping over the net or something. I don't know. Wow, whenever I've been here about a month, but in order for me to get here to be able to serve a month, I had to go through a selection process, and the city hired a consultant and went through all this, and I applied for the job. And whenever I found out I was going to get an interview, I got online and did some more research. I did that before I applied, but I thought I better get ready for the interview, and what a great place to look. I was shocked. In fact, it kind of scared me. I got on that page where it talks about the committees, and it says, oh, click here. 13 committees pop up on there. I'm like, holy cow, how did they get that many people to volunteer? And I was just like, it reminded me, I got to tell you this story. How many of you, when you're kids, before kindergarten, had a book read to you or read a book that was called The Little Red Hen? Does anybody remember that? I hadn't read it since I was a little kid, but that whole story is about a hen that goes out and says, hey, to the community, hey, I'm going to go plow my field so I can plant some food, and will you come and help me? And everybody says, no, I'm not going to do that. So the little red hen goes out and plows the field, comes back, and then it's time to plant the seeds. Will anybody help me plant the seeds? And nobody will go help the little red hen. And so the little red hen goes and plants the seeds, and then goes out and does the same thing. Will you come help me hoe the weeds? And no. And so the little red hen goes and does it by itself. And then it's time for harvest. Will anybody come help me harvest? No. So she goes out and harvests. And then the little red hen comes back, and it's time to grind it up and bake the bread. Will someone come and help me bake the bread? No. And then at the end, she's sitting there eating the bread, and all the neighbors are saying, where's our bread? And then she goes into, you didn't help me to do this, you didn't help me do that. Well, I'll just tell you, I couldn't ever be that person that didn't give the bread after all the hard work, and I believe y'all share the same value, or you wouldn't be sitting here tonight. Because let's face it, 20% of the people do 80% of the work. And I value what you do for our community. I'm excited about working with you in the future. And I just want to take one more special thought. There's probably some people in here that I don't even know that probably have served on the city council in the past or on a board that we didn't recognize. Would you stand up? And let's give you a round of applause. Anybody that we overlooked? Hey, you know what? Thank you, Lisa, congratulations. Thank you for your service. Something else that we forget also, good point, Mayor, is the spouses of these volunteers. Holy cow, you you guys and gals sit at home while they up there serving and helping us out, and thank you for that. I've got two special friends that we asked to come tonight, Donna and George Sorensen from our cabin museum. I met them last week and invited them to be with us tonight. They volunteer around that cabin and do things, and you know, it's kind of off the beaten path compared to everything else on the square. And I was amazed at what we have in that little resource there. And these folks are dedicated and hang out there and keep those doors open and give those shows to people. And there's some people in there that like, I think it's George, right? Grant, I'm sorry. Grant tells the stories and things like that to the kiddos that come in there when the museum's going on, and Donna's there working all the time. And we got some other folks that are involved. Julie couldn't be here with us tonight, but thank y'all for coming and doing all that you do as well. And I'll leave you with a quote. You know, we sit here and we talk about our community. There's a guy named William Barclay said, the ethic of community is responsibility. And if you really stop and think about it, there's so much truth in that. We are responsible for our community. And it's our ethical responsibility to make sure we make it better than we found it. And thank y'all for all that you do and help us. Please enjoy the rest of the food. Stick around and visit. I will have to scold you. You didn't mix company very well. You're kind of sitting with your committees. Imagine that. Thank y'all very much. I'm guilty too. I'm sitting with my elected bosses over here, so I know where the bread's buttered. Thank y'all.